It's late afternoon there, I know. It's just a little afternoon here. Uh, Good evening, I suppose. Um, I'm going to be talking tonight. I'm not an academic, by the way. I'm a reporter, a journalist, and a writer by training who sometimes picks up a camera. But I'm going to be talking tonight about 8 years I spent as a reporter covering the news on the Navajo Nation as a practicing Wiccan. And I'll get into the definition of Wiccan in a minute. So let me start off by saying that I wanted to visit the Navajos because I was interested in tonal languages. In Navajo, when you speak it, the way you pronounce a word changes the meaning of it. You can say awe, and that means a baby. And you can say awe, and that means coffee. So the girl can get herself in a lot of trouble asking for a cup of coffee out on the wrist. But you know, it's contextual. I came here with an obstetrical nurse who wanted to practice in an Indian Health Service hospital. And I found myself in the middle of a public ceremony. In Shiprock, the town, and this is a map, by the way, showing you the Navajo Nation. I am not following the slides, so I'm just telling you some stories. But the slides will kind of remind me. You can see it's near the Four Corners region, and it is bordered by the states of New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, and Colorado. It's in about 1/3 in New Mexico, 2/3 in Arizona, and a little slice in Colorado, Utah, excuse me, none at all in Colorado. This is a larger map of it. Now, I by pure chance, the reporter for the local Farmington newspaper happened to quit in Shiprock after I'd been there about 2 weeks. And I grabbed that job and I moved into the trailer that served as the Farmington Daily Times News Bureau. And let's see. Oh, this is a map of the Navajo Nation, again divided into 3 parts. My beat basically covered everything between Shiprock, Gallup, and Window Rock, which is the seat of Navajo government. Also down here, Crown Point. There are many important issues going on there. I'm going to give you here some Navajo facts. By the way, the nurse and I broke up about 2 weeks after I arrived there. I found myself in the middle of a public ritual. Now, as a neo-pagan, I had done a lot of PR work for Wicca, but this was something I never expected to see. There were hundreds of Navajos. It was a fair-like atmosphere. And this was the Yeviche ritual, which is done after the first frost every year. And it's a healing ritual. It is, there is a patient chosen by the Medicine Men's Association, the tribe's healers or chanters, the ones who do the healing ceremonies. And they give that person basically a free healing. They perform very intricate chants, they make sand paintings. This goes on for a week. And on the last 2 nights, the dancers dance as the first night they dance in traditional Navajo clothing. The men wear velvet shirts and long pants, and the women are dressed. The second night, they perform it as gods. And this is the manifestation of their deities on earth, the fulfillment of what is called the mechanistic religion. They have a contract with the holy people. that says if we follow the rules, you have to follow the rules. And the rules say that if we do the ceremony right, we have to heal somebody. So that's what the traditional teachings are. Now, there's 3 religions out there, and I want to talk more about how these work out together, because in some ways this is very like medieval Europe, where you had Christianity conflicting with a traditional pagan religions. Corn pollen way, which is the traditional Navajo way, it's called that because they use corn pollen as a sacrament. They bless themselves and they bless the road in front of them with corn pollen when they're doing a blessing ceremony. There's a peyote way, which is based around sacramental use of the hallucinogenic cactus peyote. And there's the Jesus way, which I assume needs no further introduction, and we'll get to that very soon. Now, a lot of people are going to ask, what makes you think you're a witch? These are materialists and rationalists who, ha ha, witchcraft, ha ha. They laugh at it. Nothing much, just 20 years spent practicing Wicca. What do I mean by Wicca? Well, it's modern witchcraft. It is an interpretation of what we think pagan peoples may have been doing. And it's largely invented. I would do that if nobody else will. What real witches do, this indicates, some of the things we do. I know that earlier there was the reference to sex magic in one of the talks. We may use symbolic or real sex for magic purposes. My first wife and I were, for instance, doing a ritual for prosperity, and we wanted it to be very powerful, so we planned to make love at the end of it. And my wife was a little dyslexic, and she said on circle the word not prosperity, but posterity. And 9 months and 2 weeks later, my daughter was born. Anyway, moving on, what witches do not do. Well, we don't worship Satan, okay? We don't even believe in Satan. There isn't a Satan. Both the god and the goddess embody creative and destructive aspects. We don't sacrifice and baptize babies or harm animals. We don't force obedience on others. We don't practice black magic because what goes around comes around. They don't boast their magical abilities and powers. Don't break those with confidentiality. There are only 2 things that are confidential about a magic ritual: who's there, taking part, and where it's held. Everything else I can tell you. And we don't disparage other people's faith as a rule. I'm going to let you read a witch's resume. I'll tell you a little more about how I got along. I spoke about the Abiche. Shortly after that, I went to a party of a Wiccan friend in Albuquerque, Mexico. And there I met someone and told him that I was living, that I got this job reporting on the Navajo Nation. And he said, well, this is very interesting, The Navajos don't attract the people they need because that would be witchcraft. Instead, the Navajos attract the people who need them. And I didn't understand what he meant at the time, but I understood that I would learn. I learned a lot from books about the Navajos. This is author Tony Hillerman on the left. He has a series of Navajo police stories involving 2 detectives on the Navajo police force. One of them a very traditional tribal policeman just trying to be a medicine man. The other one basically a total convert to the Western way of thinking, who was nevertheless a very effective policeman. Here we have a very rare book by Cluckhoe, which I got from the library, Navajo Witchcraft. This was written back in 1949, I think, or published then. And what Cluckhoven, who was an anthropologist, would do is he would drive around the Navajo Nation and pick up hitchhikers. And in the privacy of his truck, while driving through the miles of empty desert, he would interview them about witchcraft and see what they knew. And finally, we have over here the Dine Bahan, which is the Navajo creation story. It's got everything the book of Genesis lacks, including great jokes and coyote, and we'll get into him later on. Traditional Navajo beliefs, the Navajos are scared shitless of two things: skinwalkers and chindies. And probably more of the skinwalker, because a chindi is like a zombie. It's a spirit that hasn't made it isn't quite dead yet. It hasn't made it to the place where spirits go. So it wanders around, influencing others with evil powers. A skinwalker, on the other hand, is someone with deliberate bad intent, a dark sorcerer. They have earned the power to change into an animal by skinning one, and you also have to kill a close relative or have incest with a close relative. I guess it works either way. This was not always looked down upon. According to many Navajos, before horses were introduced, this was the only way you could travel great distances quickly. Change yourself into an eagle or a hawk and fly, or a horse and run, and then change back when you got there. And everybody on the roads, no matter what religion they profess, they know somebody who had a relative that really saw a skinwalker, maybe. Speaking of which, don't point with your finger, use your lips. Yeah, to point. Because if you point like this, you might be a bit too strong. Don't talk about wild animals when they're about. So you refer to the bear during the summer months as, our hairy friend in the woods. And what is taboo is not discussed. This came up really intensely during one of the first stories I covered, which was the 1993 hantavirus outbreak. At first, nobody suspected the hantavirus, and nobody knew what was going on because young Navajos in the prime of health were dying. And the problem came when reporters would fly into a little remote town where somebody had died of this, and they would ask the Navajos, well, what was his or her name? And they can't talk about that right after the person has died. They can't talk about it until they've been dead for a couple of weeks, because you want them to get all the way to the spirit land, not call them back. In Navajo, you do not name something, you call it. There's a difference. So reporters complained that it was hard to get information. The people can always write down the name for you, but to speak it is to call. Also, I wrote a Halloween column, Interview with a Skinwalker, that I took basically from Cluckhoven's descriptions of the skinwalkers and wrote a fictitious column. It provoked outrage on the floor of the Navajo Nation Tribal Council. The councilwoman from Shiprock held it up as, and it said, where is this guy getting his information from? And who talked? Who told him this? Mm-hmm. Well, like Cluckhoven told me, honey, he's been dead, 30 years, so. I'll get into clarity later. Okay. The second religion that we deal with is the peyote religion, and I went to 3 peyote ceremonies. I took the medicine, because that is what they call it. They never refer to it as a drug. I took the medicine all 3 times. There are rounds. There are 4 rounds in a traditional ceremony. And if you don't want to do the medicine, you just tap yourself here and pass it along. You can be there in spirit. Peyote has got to be the worst tasting stuff you have ever. You can't imagine how bad it tastes. But you roll it up into a ball and you pop it in your mouth. At least that's the way you're supposed to do it. Ceremonies are often held in a teepee, but also in a traditional Navajo hogan. It's not traditional among the native Navajo to use peyote. It was founded by a Comanche, Quanah Parker. And the peyote said it was an intoxicating liquor and tried to stamp it out wherever they could. So in 1994, the Navajo Church, Native American Church of Navajo Land, was founded to stop the federal and tribal persecution of sacramental peyotes. Now it's got over 250,000 members, and Navajos compose the largest tribal segment. It's interesting that in 1997, the U.S. military chaplains attended Native American churches' ceremonies and allowed peyote to be used in them. All that you have to do is, if you're a member of the NAC, you wait 24 hours before you return to active duty and pick up that M16. Okay, do we really need to get any introduction to the Jesus way and how it played out for the Native Americans? It was forcibly introduced by Spanish monks in the 16th century, but it never put on with the Navajo. And I can't emphasize enough that the US government and churches really tried hard to obliterate the Navajo culture and perform cultural genocide. The slogan was, "Kill the Indian to save the man." And I've talked to kids, adults who as kids were beaten or ate soap just for speaking their native tongue. President Eisenhower, as recently as the 1950s, is trying to mainstream Native Americans and close the Reds. And these photos are from a temple in a Catholic church, actually, a small parish in Tallahatchie, New Mexico, where he lived for about 6 months. And you can see you've got Jesus as the Good Shepherd, Navajo style, back here in the window. And over here you have a crucifix with Jesus as a Navajo man. So I think the Catholics are a little more adaptable than other denominations of Christianity. Now, I mentioned earlier that we've got these two conflicting trends, the traditional way and the Jesus way. And in that respect, the Navajo Nation is very much like Europe in, say, I don't know, the 10th or 11th century, when the real persecution of the pagan ways started. Well, on the Navajo Nation, they have a buffer between the two, and it is the Native American Church, now known as Azeh Be Nagaha of the Diné Nation. I hope I pronounced that right. If there are any Navajos listening, I apologize. Okay, you can see here that a Native American Church roadman, or priest of the ceremony, has interposed himself between the two, is acting like a buffer, but it's coyote. And it's not even a really good coyote either. He's got the feather fan, he's got lots of turquoise on, he's got a water drum. He's meant to resemble this guy. Okay, this is a roadman, a traditional Navajo priest. This is peyote buttons, and these are the tools of a roadman, a feather fan, an eagle bone whistle, which produces a phenomenal sound, a talking stick, a rattle, and a sage bundle. And how can the AZBN do this? Well, it both honors the traditional Diné customs and traditions, and it venerates Jesus Christ at the end of every ceremony. So, I often saw that when there was a conflict between traditional and Jesus way people over a marriage or a funeral or something like that, they ended up settling on doing a NAC ceremony, which doesn't necessarily involve using peyote. It just involves doing it the NAC way. So that's largely how Hojong, which is the idea of beauty or the harmony in nature, is maintained on the reservation. And you can see here, I've got the 4 sacred mountains here I'm going to go try to pronounce those right now. These are basically define the Navajos' home range. There are colors and minerals associated with them, and I could go on for hours. No discussion of Navajo beliefs would be complete without Coyote the trickster, okay? Coyote is like an evil demigod, and he's always out there waiting, he's always hungry, and he's always looking for a chance to make mischief. Let me tell you a story about Coyote, which is illustrated in this picture here. At the beginning of the world, the holy people gave first man and first woman a buffalo skin full of stars, and they said, put these up in the heavens wherever you think they belong. The holy people left, and first man and first woman fell to arguing about the stars. First man wanted them to go one way, and first woman wanted to go another way. Coyote hears them arguing, and he says, hey folks, walking over, what's going on? And they say to him, we can't decide how to place these stars that the holy people gave us. She wants to do it one way, I want to do it another way, can't make up our minds. And Coyote says, okay. He grabs the buffalo skin with both hands, gives it a flip, and the stars go all over the place, which is why the stars look that way today. Coyote says, hey, problem solved. That's Coyote. I will finish only by mentioning this appearance by the holy people, which occurred while I was out there. And this was almost a state secret. The Navajo Nation, they do not allow anybody to take pictures at the Gay Betray ceremonies, for instance. The Navajo police will seize your camera and you'll get your memory card back. The next day if you go to Window Rock, it will be blank. The whole thing erased. This apparition occurred to an old woman, Irene Yazzie. She's 96, and she was working outside, and she saw two men surrounded by light. They told her that the Navajos need to return to their traditional ways, which is what these things always tell you. Apparitions, visions. Soon, as word of this got around, the Navajo government started giving employees 4 hours leave to visit the site. And President Albert Hale declared May 17th, 24th Spiritual Unity Month. The Navajo Times, which is the tribal weekly paper, did not report anything about this out of respect. The medicine men told people not to speak about it. Only way I learned what was really going on was I knew an Anglo teacher at Navajo Community College who was married to a Navajo, and as soon as I got the story, went nationwide on the AP wire. And UFO expert Jacques Vallée compares these religious visitations to UFO events because they have many similar characteristics, including the light phenomena, the appearance of beings, and things like that. He equates it to the Virgin of Guadalupe in Mexico, or the miracle of Fatima, which I believe occurred in Portugal. They're archetypal experiences, folks, and my impression of the Navajo Nation is that whatever you believe, that's a little place where the Navajo gods reign. And they are supreme there. Thank you. They are supreme there, and they run the show. And a lot of educated white people who live there have come to believe the same thing, mostly because you have to. So, it's question time.